have a very special guest that I've had the privilege to meet very recently and actually start to work with. And so I'm very excited about this because once we started talking and sharing this, your journey, I was like, the world needs to hear more about this because it's an I don't want to say it's rare that I get inspired by things, but it definitely inspired me. And so I'm going to intro you here and then let's jam. So Chad, you're a single father and you are definitely a testament to personal transformation. But as a single father, you've faced numerous challenges, but it's your unwavering commitment to your daughter, Lola, that sparked a profound transformation within you. And this is the part that I find the most amazing. What sets you apart from everybody else is that you found this power through abstinence. And by redirecting that energy and focusing on self-discipline, you were able to embark on a transformational journey that not only changed your life, but has empowered you to help others manifest their own dreams and aspirations. Through teaching and coaching, you guide individuals on how to harness their energy, redirect their focus, and manifest the lives of their desires. So that's a lot. And that's what I definitely want to dive into that. And I think that most people, especially men listening to this, are going to get caught up on the abstinence part.
Yeah.
Because, we like sex.
I was talking to someone about this today.
Beautiful.
And a buddy of mine that came to see me at the clinic that I haven't seen in probably 6 months. And I talking about this. And the first thing a guy says is, he was like, "Oh, I couldn't do that."
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it. I get it. But, I'm that with me might be that meth addict, one little bump in a bathroom at a club.
Right.
And so it has the same effect.
Yep.
It really does.
So let's go back into the story and what led to the abstinence, what led to the addiction, what led to that. And let's go back to kind of the darker days and then how we got to like the awesome person you are now, because I think that's really relevant to people. It's easy to hear people be like, "Hey, I'm fucking awesome now." And it's like, well, shit, man, I got a million things going on. I'm addicted to X, Y, and Z. I got no fucking money. How'd you get there?
Yeah, no, great. So, I mean, you back up till, 25 years ago, right? You want to go back to the dark days.
Yes.
Back up 25 years ago, I was involved with a group of guys. Actually, they're known as the Southside Boys. I just sat down and recorded my part of probably will be a Netflix documentary at some point. But this is 25 years ago, and this is back in the clubbing days, and this is back in the ecstasy days. And if you've ever heard of the term called ecstasy, it kind of leads it leads right into our conversation here, because having sex on ecstasy
right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Off and running. There's the addiction right there. So, it's not necessarily, when I say that I have a sex addiction, it's not necessarily that I have a sex addiction. I have a sex addiction on substances. Like I would want to, back then, that's how it started, is what I just said with the ecstasy, right? But then it graduated into, want to take a couple of Percocets, so want to take something so I can have that kind of sex, which I would describe as more not real kind of sex, more porn star sex, which is not real life, basically.
Right.
And you kind of get caught chasing that, so to speak.
Yeah.
And chasing that high, just like any other drug or addiction.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So yeah, when you go back, that's how I started, is in those days, and that's kind of how I got addicted to that lifestyle and that kind of time that we're talking about. And then I went through a couple of marriages, right? And so once I got divorced again from my daughter's mom, I was the common denominator, right? No matter what I looked at it, no matter how I shook it.
When we first talked, so I do get approached to be on the podcast now and then, and I don't just let anybody on the podcast, right? And you can kind of talk to people and you can see what kind of father they are, or if they want to get on because they want to have some clout or like whatever. Like, you don't get to come on the podcast just because you have a business or you do this or just because you're a single father. The thing that stood out immediately when we talked is that it didn't even take us 5 minutes in our conversation for you to be like, my ex-wife's and I was the common denominator. Like the extreme ownership of that, and being able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, and I was like, this guy we gotta talk, because we think the same way.
Yeah, it's the only way you can get past things. If you don't take complete ownership of it, I believe everybody's hiding. They're hiding from something, right? When you throw yourself on the sword, and that's where I'm at, where I'll come on a podcast. I'll go on national TV right now and talk about my sex addiction. I talk about the fact that I used to sell ecstasy 25 years ago. I'll talk about anything. I'm an open book. And the reason is because I don't do those things anymore. And I have generated power through what you, like you just said, through abstinence and just seeking meditation. After I divorced Lola's mom, it's like, again, I'm the common denominator. I got to figure this out, right? And so that's why I went into meditation. That's the whole reason I started looking at meditation. And then, shoot, I meditated for probably 2 years before I generated enough power to quit my job of 25 years and, start my own clinic, put my house up for sale, cancel my TV, living on credit card.
Yeah.
Hoping that I would make it across the bridge, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I did. I mean, there's a lot of power in restraint, right? And that's what I try to teach people. And so I use that clinically because addiction is food, sugar, right? Sugar is the number one most addictive thing on the face of the planet. So I use my story. And my medical director was the medical director at Ridgeview, which is one of the biggest addiction places in the country, actually, not even in the state of Georgia. Brittany, one of my counselors here, is also a drug counselor as well. So we kind of treat addiction the same, right? Whether it be food or whether it be alcohol, or whether it be sex, or whatever that might be. What we try to do is detox people's mind, body, and spirit, and then surround them with community, right? Yeah. People like you, people like us that want to live the same ways, and want our daughters and kids to be proud of us, right?
Yep. I think that's a huge part, like wanting them to be proud and be the right example for them, and not like she will look back and see Dad picked himself up from these times. I talk about that, like as a single father, like what does it look like? What is the example I'm setting? Is it good enough? Isn't it good enough? Like these are the things that come up on a regular basis. And let's go back, because there was a point when we were talking, you mentioned, I think we might've been talking about meditating, and it was like God came down and talked to you in that meditation. I think you might have been in the closet.
Yeah.
Please tell that story.
Yeah. So I have a meditation pillow sitting in my closet. So I have a morning routine. We do, discipline-based wellness. And so we wake up early, we make our bed, and then we go sit down in a quiet spot, and we kind of just set our intention for the day. It's just how we go about our morning, right? But the one particular morning that you're talking to, I was sitting in there, and the universe, God, Holy Spirit, just started talking to me, and like out loud, like I could hear it, just like I'm talking to you right now. And the universe, God, the Holy Spirit said, sit the heck down. And then it said it 3 times, and the third time really loud, to a point where I like literally even looked up in the sky, and I was even crying, and I was like, I'm sitting, I'm listening. And the universe just started talking to me. It said, you're a fake, pursuing, chasing son of a gun. You've always been just pursuing and chasing the next cool party. You used to sell drugs all the time. Look at me. I got a fancy car. I got a fancy apartment. You don't even know who you are. You don't even know who you want to be. And in that moment, that's when the universe said, you have a sex addiction. And I was like, and in that moment, like I told you, the only way I can describe it to the people that are listening to this is as soon as that, if you would have told me that about myself the day before, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
So but in this moment, as soon as the Holy Spirit, the universe, God said you have a sex addiction, only way I can describe it, like I say, is this mental Rolodex, just going back through my entire life. And in that 30-second mental Rolodex, I was like, holy shit. Like, you have never been alone. You have never been alone. Since you were 18 years old, you have went from one female to the next via text, via communication, via something. You don't even know who you are. You don't even know who you want to be. And in that moment, that's when I decided. I was like, wow, I'm crying. I'm sitting in there, and I'm just like, the only way to beat an addiction is to abstain from it. So, the only way I'm going to beat this is to not have sex. And so I went right at 4 years without having sex when I sold my house, moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. Was living on credit cards. I had struck a deal with some chiropractors to let me plug into their chiropractic office, and I told them I can do this.
Yeah.
So I said I'll run the clinic for 6 months for free. So at the end of that 6 months, living in a 1-bedroom apartment as a single dad, right across the street, right here from the clinic, where I sit right now, when I got to that 6-month mark where I promised them that we would reevaluate and see what I've done, I was able to walk them a $10,000 check, and I gave them a $10,000 check, and I was able to write myself a $10,000 check. And here's the part of the story: when I wrote myself that $10,000 check, I had $1,300 to my name. My dog, I'm driving a Range Rover. My dog, I was in a 1-bedroom apartment across the street. My daughter was in private school, soccer, piano, and somehow at the end of that 6 months, I mean, I was able to now I had $11,300, and I was able to start paying myself and start building the business and going a different direction. But that's how tight it got.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's a testament to, I think there's more single fathers out there that have that story than we care to mention, because I mean, I have a very similar story, and it's actually interesting. I'm definitely one to be very open, very raw, very real with almost everything I talk about. And it's, talking to you, I'm like, man, there is a level of addiction to sex at some point for me too. I didn't have girlfriends, and then once I did, it was kind of like, and then it was interesting when we first talked, because you're like, whether it was text or whether it was this or whether it was that, I was never alone. And I'm like, ooh. And then I start seeing, like, some of my friends are the same way, where we think like, I got a hold on this, and maybe you don't. And it definitely like makes you real. It helped give me perspective to reel things in. And what I have been doing for a little while now, I had done it before we had talked, before I had met you. I'd studied a lot of sexual transmutation and the power of semen retention and all those kinds of things. Yeah. And loved it, because I'm like you. What can help me get 1% better? You're telling me if I can do these things, like, let's do it. It's going to feel good. To achieve the goals that we want. And but since meeting you, like, I kind of pushed it to the side, but since meeting you, I've been back on that like semen retention thing. And I'm like, this feels good to just be able to control it, much like fasting, right? Like, the biggest thing for me when I first did my 70, and I know you're going to go off on this one, it's great, but the first time I did that 72-hour fast that I did, the biggest thing for me was like, I'm in charge. What I say is going to happen is going to happen. And that's where you get that mental clarity and that resiliency. It really didn't have anything to do with the food. No. And so it's the same with the sex. And, I'm not abstinent. I'm not at a point right now today where I feel like I want to do something like that. I do feel like I'm in a very stable situation. I feel very good, but I do introduce on a weekly basis, the semen retention, because I think it's very valuable. And having a partner that understands the value in that is immense. And even some of the books I read about sexual transmutation, like, it's okay for the man to have sexual intercourse, but to be able to hold himself back from the ejaculation at the end of the intercourse is a whole nother level. And when I started doing that, I'm like, but I'll tell you what, you do that and you're like, let's fucking go. What are we doing today? It's fascinating.
It's because you said it. You have control. You have power. The power is in control, right? The power is in control. The power is not giving in and doing something. That's weakness. And so there's a reason that fighters do it. There's a reason that on a big championship fight, why a fighter won't even sleep in the same bed with his girl. He'll barricade himself in a camp around a bunch of dudes and just be in the zone, right? Well, there's a lot to be said about that. So with me, I mean, I'm scared to have sex. How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
I'm literally scared to it. I see it no different than a hit of heroin.
So do you?
Because I know me, right? I tell people all the time, you got to outsmart yourself, right? You got to know yourself. I know me. So I can be honest right here on this podcast right now, and I can say, if I had some amazing sex tonight, I know what would happen. That would own my headspace the rest of the week. Ooh. I would be at work thinking about what outfits I could order off of Yandy.com, or like.
I get emails from Yandy too. Oh, that hits home. That hits home.
Like, I know me. You know what I mean? That's just me being honest. I could play it off right now and say, no. I know that's what would happen. And if it was really good sex, like I'm addicted to, then it would consume me. And now my business is going down. And so I'm literally scared of it.
Interesting. So how have you allowed that to navigate a relationship with a woman?
I haven't had one.
Haven't had one.
I haven't had one since I divorced Lola's mom 5 years ago. I've been on about 4 dates.
Okay.
Three of them wanted to gnaw my arm off. The other one, it was whatever. It was,
Yeah.
I was still ready to get home and put on ESPN. So I haven't. So I haven't had a relationship with a woman. I've just been literally working on myself.
Yeah.
And my daughter's watching me. Back to you said something earlier, but I wanted to say when I quit my job, meditated and quit my job and went bought a for sale sign for my house. Went home, went and picked up Lola. She was 2.5 at the time, maybe right at 3. Picked her up and took her home, put the for sale sign in the front yard. I had just got 2 interest-free credit cards that I was going to plan to live on while hopefully I sold my house because the market was good then. And my mom, I was involved with a family business of 25 years. My mom had followed me to my house and pulled into my driveway. And so she come walking up the driveway and walked into the house. And so when she walked into the house, I'd already told Lola, picked her up, that Daddy's quitting his job. I'm going to start a clinic. I just told her what we was about to do, right? My mom come walking into the house, and Lola, right at 3 years old, just spins around. I'm going to cry telling you this. She spins around and she looks right at my mom and she says, my dad's getting a new job. Just so matter of fact, so confident that in that moment, I realized all I got to do is tell my daughter what we're about to do. If you need more motivation than that, just like put it on the refrigerator. Just right.
Gonna make me cry.
House on January 23rd.
Yeah.
We're buying you a boat on whatever it is. Say it out loud. Look at your kid right in the face. Tell them this is what we are going to do. And as a man, if you need more motivation than that, you're lost.
Oh my God, you can mic drop the whole thing on that, because it's the driving force behind pretty much everything that I have going on. Is that providing that, and she does the same thing. She told me, you'll love this. One of my good friends has Ferraris, and he's like, hey, bring her, because my daughter loves exotic cars, loves them. Like she's an art fanatic. She loves beauty. She just gets it, right? And I joke all the time because I'm like, no kid gets excited about the Honda Civic that pulls up to the gas station, but the Lambo, they're like, let's fucking go. Even kids know like what good vibration feels like, And so I was like, baby, do you want to go over to so-and-so's house? Like we can go ride in his Ferraris or whatever. She looks at me and goes, nah, I'll wait for you to get the Lambo. I'm like,
I love this so much. I can't wait to tell you this. So this is a true story about Lola. So Lola, at about 6 years old, she's 8 now. At 6 years old, she tests in the top 1% in the country on every math testing scoring that she's ever got. Math, English, it's off the charts. She tests better than 99% of her peers, right? So she got her map testing, and it was same grades again, like I just said. And I looked her dead in the face and I said, Lola, if you continue to get grades like this from now to the time you're 16 years old, I'll buy you any kind of car you want. She said, I want a Lamborghini. Look, she said it so fast. I didn't even get the last word out, right? But here's the best part of the story. She says, I want a Lamborghini. I fire right back. I said, well, I'm not getting you that. I'll get you any regular car. She fires right back at me, and she says, well, that's what I'm getting myself when I get older.
Fuck yes.
I said, that's what I'm talking
about.
That's the confidence that I pump into that girl. She didn't say, Dad, you said you would get me any car. She just fired right back. She said, well, that's what I'm getting myself when I get older.
God, I love it. Oh my yes. God. I love that so freaking much. God, me too. I get all excited. I'm like, hell yes. Hell yes. I just actually had this conversation with Sloan the other day. I can't remember what she had asked for. And I was like, baby girl, daddy's not going to get that right now, whatever. And she's like, well, I'm going to manifest it. Something like, I can't remember how it came up, but she's like, well, I'm going to manifest it. And I'm like, all right, awesome. And then she's like, I'm going to manifest you buying it. And I was like, okay, pump the brakes. Fine. That is in your realm of possibility. You can manifest me buying it. I said, but I would encourage you to not attach anything that you can get to dad. Allow the universe to give it to you in whatever way it wants to. Like I'm trying to, put these little seeds and nuggets out there of like, it can come through 100 million different avenues to you. Don't attach to the one, right? Don't be on the Ways and Means committee. Just allow it to happen. 6.
So Lola, again, is 8. She was probably about 6 at this time when this story, she comes back from her mom's house, right? And she says, Dad, She says, one of my proudest dad moments ever right here. She looks at me because Lola crawls in on me in meditation all the time. I mean, she's very familiar with me in meditation. So anyway, she comes back. She says, Dad, I was at Mom's and I got so mad. She said, and I thought about you. And I went to my room and I sat on my bed and I meditated and I said, slow your brain down, slow your brain down, slow your brain down. I don't even remember why she was mad. I was like, that is oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm winning.
Yeah.
I'm winning.
Listen, that to me is more important than any grade she's ever going to get in life, because she can take that everywhere with her.
Learning how to control your thoughts, control your emotions, slow your brain waves down before you just react to something. Wow. Yeah.
Especially, at that age too, because they're still in that reactionary mode. I mean, it's God, it's awesome. I love it. I love how. And so are you, does she ask you ever, like, Dad, why don't you have a girlfriend, or why don't you married any? Does that come up? How do you navigate that with her? Because it's a different life you've chosen, that to go this direction.
Yeah. So, I mean, I talk to Lola about everything. I talk to her just like I'm talking to you right now.
Same.
I mean, even since she was born, I've never talked to her goo gaga.
Same.
I just don't do that. I just talk to her just like I'm talking to you right now. And everybody, I know I talk fast, but my daughter's never told me I talk fast one time. She hears every word I say. So I talked to her about it. She would like for me to have a girlfriend. She tells me that she would like for me to have a girlfriend. And I know that she needs to see me with a woman and treating a woman right, and demonstrating not just how I treat her, because I demonstrate with her as well, just the silly stuff, the way I, open doors, and the way I, show her how she should be treated. But I know that she should also see me treating another woman that I care for in that way too. I know that's important. So I guess it'll just. Obviously, I don't go out. I don't hang out in bars. I'm not on dating websites and nothing like that. So it's just going to have to organically.
Well, it will when the time's right. When you're fully open to it, it will. So she is
I'm locked into my routine though. That's going to be hard, Like I'm so Mondays. Lola's with her mom. But her mom doesn't have the ability to leave for work and pick her up at the bus stop on Monday. So I built my whole business around it. So I go pick her up on Monday, take her home, have a popsicle, hang out. I get her ready for soccer. We go to soccer on Monday. Her mom comes at the end of soccer, picks her up. She goes home with her mom. Then I pick her right back up on Tuesday because she's with me Tuesday through Thursday. We got piano on Tuesday night. Take her to school tomorrow morning, pick her up again tomorrow. We got soccer again tomorrow afternoon. So you know how it is.
No, and that's part of, again, though, I think what ends up becoming, so a lot of my friends are all, once you become an entrepreneur and you're independent self, you do it on your own, you kind of just attract that, right? And I don't know, obviously I would figure it out. There would have to be familial help or nannies or aftercare. There would have to be other forms of help. But when you have your own business, you can structure it in a way to where it's like, look, these are what I'm doing. And I struggle with it. I do let it bleed into my time with her and this and that. And it's definitely a thing where I'm like still working on like putting those barriers up because I'm in the growth phase still, so in the growth phase, it gets a little hairy, Yeah. And so, but I think it's a huge, every time I do one of these podcasts, I get something from someone else. And it's like, some people are 2 steps behind me in one area of life and 2 steps ahead of me in another area of life, And so when I hear like us talking, I'm like, oh man, he's 2 steps ahead. Well, if he's 2 steps ahead, I'm 2 steps behind. This is what's coming next. This is how, the more stability, the this, the that. Take these things and learn from them and be able to implement just little bits into your life because we all function better on routine. Our children even function better on routine.
They like it.
They do.
They want it. I mean, Lola's so built into her routine. We're going back and forth to her mom and her dad's and what she does on certain days. Like if I show up on a different day and like to pick her up on a Thursday because her mom's out of town or something, she's like, this is weird. Yeah. Like you picking me up on a Thursday.
Yeah. Sloan does the same thing. She says the same thing. So I do want to talk about this too, because we both have the same viewpoints on health and both of our daughters are high performers and both of our daughters are very clean, clear thinking. So you made the choice to...
Your daughter vaccinated?
No.
Yeah, mine either.
That's where I was going to go with this. So you made the choice to, not vaccinate your child. And I haven't really gotten into why I've made those choices not to do that really on the podcast, not for any reason to hide it or anything. People know I, like you, I respect, I believe we live in America where we have the freedom to choose whatever. If you want to, and I believe you as the parent have dominion over your child, like in how they do things. So I respect everybody's opinion. I have all of that, utmost respect for everybody's choices. But I do find it interesting when I talk to other people who have not vaccinated their children, where they're at in the performance level of things on a regular basis and when they don't get sick ever.
Yep. Lola's never been sick.
Right.
She's never been to the doctor. Lola's should be 9 February 24th.
Okay.
She's last time she's been to the doctor was her 7-month-old checkup. They made her 9-month-old checkup, and I was like, y'all done checked her enough, and she ain't been back.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's never had an ear infection. She's never had a cold. She's never missed one day of school.
Yep. I love it. I mean, it's just, I think what I want people to understand is that there are other ways out there, and that when you educate yourself in an informed way to make a decision, I think that it's, you stick to those guns, especially in today's day and age, that it's admirable. It is hard.
It's hard. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know how deep you want to go into that conversation, but I can tell you my story of the hospital getting my daughter out of there. I mean, it's tough to stand your ground. You really got to stand your ground.
Listen, as much as I believe you can get the vaccines, I believe that you don't need to get them, and this podcast is open to everything. So I think I would like to. So we stood our ground and didn't have as much pushback because I was very well educated, like I guess you would be too. So I'd love to hear your story, because I bet there's somebody out there right now trying to make the decision. There's going to be someone out there right now that's going to be like, he's a fucking asshole, he's killing kids. And then there's going to be someone out there that's like, man, I did the same thing, I love it. And then there's going to be someone out there that's like, man, I really could use the strength to make this decision. So I think you share. I've been researching
vaccines for 15 to 20 years. Before my daughter was even born, I was well-versed on vaccines.
Same.
The ingredients in the vaccines, and was dead set on my daughter wasn't getting any of those. So we go to the hospital. She's born, and then they want to take her and give her some shots and whatnot. I wouldn't leave her side, right?
Same.
So finally they got so perturbed they said the doctor wanted to talk to me. And I said, that's fine. He can come in here and talk to me right here in front of my daughter.
Same.
So he did. He came in there, and it was the MMR vaccine at this particular time that he was pushing and talking to me about. And man, if there's people out there listening to this, and they're dealing with this, they'll know this is true. I mean, they'll talk to you like you're trying to kill your kid, because that's the way I was talked to in this particular instance by this doctor. He was literally talking to me like I was trying to kill my kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally said to this doctor, after about 5-minute conversation, I said, I tell you what, doc, I will give my daughter this vaccine. I'll give it to her right now. If you can name me 3 ingredients in this vaccine, I'll name you 5 right now. I'll write them on a piece of paper. We'll discuss them. But if you can name me 3 ingredients in this vaccine, I'll do it right now. He couldn't name me 1 ingredient. Standing right there, with my daughter in between us, he could not name me 1 ingredient. And I literally looked at him. People are going to laugh out there, but this is what happened. I literally looked at him and I said, I want you to go home to your house tonight, and I want you to go to your room and think about what you've done. And he looked at me like, I'm a doctor. Like you can't talk to me like this, right? I said, you just assured me that this vaccine is safe for my daughter, yet you don't know 1 ingredient.
Right.
I said, I need you to process that in your brain tonight when you're sitting alone and think about that. I said, no, she's not going to have this, and you need to get away from me. And he left, and I got her out of the hospital. But that is the story of the doctor coming to me, trying to put pressure on me to inject my daughter with polysorbate 80. That's in Roundup, by the way. 25,000 times the legal amount of mercury that's allowed in our drinking water in that vaccine.
Yeah.
And you want to inject that into my 1-hour-old?
No, thank you.
Yeah, and I started breaking them down like aborted fetal cells. And anyway, he ran out the room.
Yeah,
he didn't want to talk about
which is interesting that they don't. It sort of had the same experience. We were originally going to do a home birth or birthing center, long story short, we ended up in the hospital. Very grateful for it. We had the best staff ever. Not the man who actually ended up being there to deliver, but one of the round doctors. His wife's a midwife. Both of his children were born at home. They loved chiropractic. Like it just, we were in such a great environment. If you were going to be in a hospital, I didn't think there was a better environment. We manifested beautiful, right? And then after our daughter was born, we got taken up to like the second floor or whatever, which where the pediatrician and stuff was. And that was a whole different environment. That's a very different environment. And, they wanted to take Sloan out of the room to do like the checkup. And I'm like, she ain't leaving this fucking room. And the nurse is like, well, this is standard protocol. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what standard protocol is. My daughter's not leaving the room. He can come to me. She's like, well, he's not going to be able to come for however long. I don't give a fuck, So now he's pissed because I'm making him come to me.
Yep.
And like you, when I make a decision, the decision's the decision. I made it. My wife and I had made it. Ex-wife and I had made a decision on this topic years before we even had our daughter because we both had studied it intimately like you did. And he came to the room already pissed off, and then he started to try and lecture me. And I'm like, if you're going to lecture me, I'm going to also lecture you. So if you want to go down that road, let's do it. Because I'm not like everybody else. I did not just come in here, watch a clip of Joe Rogan and be like, I'm not getting the vaccine. Like, right. I did my research. I read the books. I have access to the medical journals. Like, I've done the work, and it's not happening, Yeah. And then he was all pissed and refused to come back in and sent a colleague in, like a younger colleague. And that colleague was like, what happened? And I told her, and she's like, it's well within your rights not to get the vaccines. Like, and I'm like, thank you. And she's like, in fact, I'm not sure why we give half up. Like, she was already on that train of like, yep. And so there's a lot of them, and she felt comfortable in that situation to talk because we just had it out with the other guy, but he refused to come back into the room. And you could see that the nurses and that other doctor, it felt good to be around other people though, that kind of were like, man, I love that this guy's standing his ground. I love that, we kind of think the same way. We had a really good experience too, and we had a birthing plan. Gave it to the hospital. They respected it. They loved it. Like, they told my ex-wife, they're like, look, if you need to get up, you need to move around, however you need to do the birthing thing, we're here to do it the way you need to. And I was like, man, if every hospital experience was like this.
We're going to do a birthing center too.
Yeah.
Did your wife do any of that weird stuff, like eat the capsules or placenta and all that stuff?
We were going to do that. I can't remember why we didn't. We might have not done it because we ended up having it in the hospital. But if we were doing it at the birthing center, she was going to get encapsulated, and we were going to do all that stuff. Yeah, we're into all that weird shit, whatever.
Yeah. The company, we were in the hospital because we got snowed in, actually. And so we were going to do a water birth and all that same stuff.
Yeah, same.
It started snowing, and she was dilated to just like a 4, but it started snowing. And we're like, well, let's just get to the hospital. So we got there, and then it was just like, we're just chilling. And then they're like, well, y'all's doctor is going to do the birth is here. Do you want to go ahead and take her today? And so we just, it worked out that way. And then the company delivered the milkshake and the capsules and all that in a little cooler.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. But, the things we do, I love it. My ex-wife also, my daughter didn't take a bottle she breastfed the whole time. And it was, I don't think I've ever respected her more than to see the toil that took on her. And especially my daughter had a tongue and lip tie. So it was, the pain was excruciating for her to breastfeed. And she was so dead fucking set on what comes out of my tit is the best thing for my daughter. And it is going in her mouth, and we're not using a bottle, and we're doing it this way. What I saw her endure, I was like, holy shit, and she did it. And even to the point where she was like, man, if I had another one, I don't know if I could do it again. It was so much, but she was so in it and so committed. It blew me away. Like what that was like. And so, but again, I think that also matters, right? Because you're getting all of that stuff. Like, people don't understand how complex the body is. So for people out there, when a child is nursing and the child latches to the nipple, a solution is created around the child's mouth and the nipple that is stronger than peroxide. If you were to have attached your lips to your wife's breast, it doesn't form. That same barrier doesn't form. Then, within hundreds of milliseconds, the nipple sends signals to the spinal cord, up to the brain, back down to the nipple, back to the spine, back to the nipple, that analyzes the saliva of the child. And within hundreds of milliseconds, the mother's breast milk changes its structure and its makeup to give the child whatever it needs. More immunoglobulins, more this, more that, less of this, more of that. We have figured out the human genome, but we still can't figure out what is in breast milk minute to minute. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
The power that made the body heals the body 100% of the time. Mic drop. That breast milk thing, that's enough of a reason why we don't need to do the vaccine, in my mind.
Everything that we need is inside us.
Yes.
That's peptides. All these peptides that's how our cells communicate, right? They're amino acids and how our cells communicate. But all these natural occurring stuff that they're finding out now the FDA is trying to get involved, trying to ban certain things because they don't want people doing regenerative healing amino acids.
Of course not.
They want us on drugs and doing surgeries and.
Of course, they don't want that, because why would you want something for $60 that can completely change the course of somebody's life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they want you on a reoccurrent, on medicine, for the rest of your life on your insurance. So.
Yeah. So, in terms of your daughter's 8, she's, how have you been able to navigate? I've talked to my daughter the same way you've talked to yours. I'm done. Never baby talked. I'm open. I'm honest. I don't hide anything from her. Open communication all the freaking time. Yep. But how have you kind of been able to navigate or have that like finding of common ground in terms of, like my daughter likes to play a lot of like dolls, or my daughter likes to play like I'm teacher, she's the teacher, I'm the student. Like those little navigating those games that might be the hardest part of fatherhood for me.
It is the hardest part for me, and why it's the hardest part for me is this reason. I built my whole schedule around Lola. So I started my business 8:30 to 3 o'clock. I'm closed. I gotta leave because I gotta be to the bus stop by 3:45 and pick up my daughter. End of story. And then I started staying open later and have people that working here and whatnot. But so the point being is when I schedule all my time around her like that, so when I go pick her up, sometimes I'm still in my phone because I still have some work to do.
Yeah.
Right. So that is the hardest part for me, is finding that balance of scheduling to be able to go be with her, but then also still not be in my phone. And that's what I struggle with, because again, my business is new, trying to create a brand. I mean, you're trying to stay active in your business. You're trying to be, the best dad you can be on the face of the planet. So you want to pick up your daughter every day, piano and soccer and all of this. So I'm going to be in my phone some because I don't think I can do both without being in my phone.
Sure.
So that I probably struggle the most with that.
Yep. I find that too. And then I just had this conversation too with one of my buddies, how I'm always interested on how other fathers deal with like the anger or the impatience or the willpower of their child, like when they're in a power struggle, right? Like Sloan doesn't want to go to jiu-jitsu in the afternoon, or she doesn't want to put her shoes on, or like, the power struggles, because it's never all sunshine and rainbows. Like hey, I just put your fucking shoes on, like how have you found ways to navigate that? Because I think that's ever increasingly the most another one of the areas of frustration for a lot of parents is, navigating these moments where I don't want to be mad at my kid just because she didn't put her shoes on. But fuck, I asked 8 times. Just put them on, please.
So I don't know how this would go over on the podcast, but I think I don't really deal with much of that at all, really. And I'm just being honest.
No, I love that. I love that.
The reason I think that I don't is because when Lola was about 3 years old, I spanked her, popped her butt with my hand, and she still remembers it to this day. She talks about it. She talks about it to other people, and so she remembers it. And so when I say put your shoes on, and then if I have to say, Lola, I told you to put your shoes on, that she's putting her shoes on then, because she remembers. That she knows I will pop her if I have to.
Yeah.
And so I've only spanked her on her butt one time. But again, she remembers it, and now she just if I change my tone, she remembers that. So, some people don't believe in spanking their kids. I got thousands of spankings as a kid, and I never got one that I didn't deserve, by the way.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've made a conscious decision. I don't spank her. I have, my reasons why I don't. One, it doesn't work for her. That was what made me stop from the beginning. It doesn't phase her at all. Just like me, didn't really phase me at all. So that's what made me start to shed a light on it. And then I have my subconscious reasons and all that stuff. So spanking isn't. But again, back to before, whether I agree or don't agree with you spanking, I believe we live in a country where it's your child and you get to decide the best way to navigate your relationship with your child. And I respect that more than anything else. And so it's interesting because, again, I just had this conversation with my buddy about he has 3 kids and disciplining each one of those children are not the same at all. Yeah. It's completely different.
Yep.
And that's...
Well, you got to find out what matters to them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find out what matters. Not every kid needs to be spanked. Like I said, Lola, I probably will never have to spank Lola ever again. It was probably going to be a one-time deal for forever. I mean, because it was 5.5 years ago.
Yeah, geez, that's crazy. She still remembers. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think I'll ever have to spank her again, but she knows I will. Right? If I tell my kid to go over there and sit in timeout, okay, and my kid turns around and says, "Nah, I ain't feeling timeout today, Dad." What do I do then? Give them double timeout?
Yeah.
And what if they say, "Nah, I'm not doing timeout today"?
Right.
Like, what's going to make them go over there and sit in that corner when you tell them to?
Right.
Got to be something, right?
Sure. There's got to be something that they care.
Video game, your tablet, right?
Sure.
Something that matters to them. Whether some kid you might have to spank, so whatever. But you got to find out what matters to them, and that's what you got to take from them because it makes an impact.
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself wanting to have any more children? It's something I think about a lot. I'm like, no.
I when I divorced Lola's mom, I went and bought a Range Rover, and then I went and got fixed.
Yeah.
So
made that decision quick.
Just take that off the table.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm old too, right? I'm 51 years old, so sure. I obviously don't need to have any more. With me and Lola, the way I look at it, if I had another child, however much money I have right now that gets to go acclimated towards Lola would be cut in half.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's a very honest way to look at it. People have asked me the same thing, and I'm like, I'm kind of at a point now where, like you, building, growing, and when it does happen, I kind of want to be selfish. I want to be able to just take off for the weekend with go to Iceland with maybe my girlfriend and my daughter, or, however that works. And I don't want to have to be like, oh, I still got a 2-year-old, and now it's this or it's that, or, I want to be a little selfish and be able to do that. And I think, sometimes I think about, like, I do wish maybe I had more kids right away, because I do think it'd be cool to have like 2 right now.
Oh no, man! If I could go back and went through those dark days and those crazy days running around thinking we're some mafia members selling ecstasy. I mean, and I could have tapped into some meditation and some fasting and everything that we're talking about now and these disciplines, how we live our life now. Oh my goodness! I mean, there's no telling. But I mean, what I could have accomplished.
Sure,
but I would have started then. But that's
yeah. But it's part of your path, your story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what makes this conversation so good is the fact that you had that.
It is, and I also want people to know I was 45 years old, so it's never too late.
I love that.
It's never too late to understand yourself. It's never too late to figure out who you are. It's never too late to chase your passion. It's never too late to try to be the best father on the face of the planet. I mean, it's never too late. And so that's kind of my message today is I want people to know this. I don't care how old you are. You can still be the best version of yourself starting tomorrow.
Yep. So before we wrap up here, because we're going to wrap up in a minute, could you kind of run everybody through, like if they're just looking to make some change, could you run them through maybe your morning or your simplest way to start to create that change, set those intentions? People are like, setting intentions, what the fuck does that mean? Can you give them a little quick piece of advice that they can use tomorrow morning to start to change?
Yep. If you want to change your life, I have the best advice ever for you. You need to wake up 30 minutes earlier tomorrow morning. And the reason you wake up 30 minutes earlier is to be able to allow for this time. You need to make your bed immediately, and I'm sure a lot of people out there already do some of these things. You make your bed immediately, have that first win, and then go sit down in a quiet spot. Like you said earlier, I have a meditation pillow sitting in my closet. My clothes for the day are folded, sitting there right beside my meditation pillow. There's a bottle of water laying right there on my meditation pillow, room temperature, and I have one rule and one rule only. Sit down on that meditation pillow, do some breathing, drink that bottle of water, and set your intention, like you say. And what that means is think about what you want. Think about what you want. What do you want to happen today? What do you want to accomplish this week? What do you want to happen today? What do you want to accomplish this week? Every single day, you go in there, you close your eyes, you slow your breathing down, you set your intention. It's meditation. The definition of meditation is to know thyself, to become familiar with. And so that's what you're doing when you're meditating, is you're slowing your brain waves down so you can enter what's called an operating system. And we're talking neuroscience now, but once you enter this operating system, you can really make some important changes in your life. And so I beg people, and if I could only give people one piece of advice, it would be that: wake up early, make your bed, go sit down in a quiet spot, drink a bottle or two of water, do some breathing, some deep breathing. Gary Vecca, look up Gary Brecka, do some deep breathing. And then set your intention. Again, think about what you want today, what you want this week, and then get up and fast till noon every day, period. Drink water till noon every day, herbal tea till noon every day. You do that every single day, and then you eat good, healthy, whole living food in between noon and 8 p.m. You will change your life, period. End of story. And anybody that does that will literally change their life, but they got to get up and they actually have to do it.
See, I love it, because the truth is always simple. The truth is simple. The truth is easy, and boom, that's it, right? I promise somebody, if they start doing that for 30 days, their life will change.
I tell people every single day, and I've already said it to someone today before I got on this podcast. I say, this is going to sound cocky, and I don't want it to sound cocky, but I promise you, if you do what I say for 60 days straight, I dare you just to do what I say for 60 days straight, just so you can come in here, look me dead in the face, and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I dare you to do it for 60 days.
Right.
You'll come in here, and if I told you to stop doing it, you would laugh in my face.
Yep. I mean,
how much difference it's making. It's called the quantum model of reality, right? Everybody knows about cause and effect, but the quantum model of reality, and I'll leave you with this, is understanding that your thoughts are changing an outcome in your life. That's a whole different game then. And when you start understanding that, you wake up, you make your bed, and you sprint to your closet where you sit down on that meditation pillow and start focusing your brain. When you understand that, you start running to your meditation closet. Yeah. And so that I would like people to look into the quantum model of reality, and I dare them to start some of these morning disciplines.
I love it. So next podcast, we're going to dive into quantum model of reality, because I could talk about that all day, and that's one of my passions. So that's going to be our next one. I can't thank you enough for this, brother. This is amazing. I'll see you in about 4 or 5 days in person, and let's just keep this good stuff rolling. You're an amazing father and an inspiration.
I appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you, brother.